After a busy year on the global stage, Europe's top domestic football leagues are back in action. Players have spent the summer representing their countries instead of a team in a league anywhere in the world. So, just what are some of the key differences between club and international football? Hello and welcome to Football Now. While there are clear differences between club football, where players are part of a diverse squad who play in domestic competitions week to week, and international football, where they represent their nations in occasional tournaments, on this week's episode of the show, we're investigating just how does this play out, both practically and tactically.
I think the main difference is time. It sounds maybe a cliche, or it sounds of course obvious, but the international teams only have 6 or 7 periods in a year where the national team coach can work with the team, and I think it's a very hard task to integrate lots of different clubs styles into one international team. Players are coming from different leagues, from different football philosophies, and they have to perform international level. This is the biggest difference. I think the finance, the time, and the coaches who are working on club level and the coaches who are working on international level, it's a different job to work every day at a football club or to work 6 or 7 periods a year, for example.
International teams are only able to select players who are eligible to play for them by nationality. This means that some countries have a huge geographical advantage. For example, Brazil has a population of 213 million to draw from, compared to Uruguay's 3.4 million. However, that doesn't always necessarily translate on the pitch. Both teams featured at the recent Copa America, with Uruguay getting past their much larger neighbours in the quarter-finals. How difficult is it for a manager to scout their players for an international team when they may play in a different part of the world?
The amount of data that exists on players these days is fantastic. It makes the job a lot easier. Data allows you to filter what you look at, and basically we would always say raise flags. So we were monitoring over 200 players when I worked with the Australian national teams, and you would have a sort of tiered approach. So you're watching players all across the world to see who's playing, how regularly they're playing. At each stage, you're doing more and more in terms of the depth that you're looking at the players. So it's certainly a challenge. You're not going to watch 200 players play each weekend, but you're going to use the data to monitor how they're going while you're sitting in an office, maybe in Sydney, or we had staff all across the world. You're still watching football in all different parts and seeing how the players are going.
One of the most fundamental differences between international football and club football is the sheer amount of games that the teams play. Given the lack of squad consistency and time together to train, the challenge for international managers to establish the team's identity and a game plan becomes far greater. But it's also a challenge for the players, some of which find that while they are the stars at club level, it's hard to replicate that form on the international stage.
In a league competition, in league level, you have almost 40 matches and games to perform and to give your best. For some players, it's more comfortable to give 100% just on 3, 4, 5 games. Another factor is, I think, the coach's vision, the coach's philosophy. Because in a league, if you want to be the best, you have to play a possession-based style of football to control the games. But if you think about this Euro, for example, or last World Cup, teams can be successful if they are not dominating the games. In the aspect of Foden, he has to adapt to a very different style under Gareth Southgate, because Gareth Southgate wanted to minimize the opponent's attacks. But on the other hand, Pep Guardiola is another kind of coach, and Phil Foden is a very complex profile. He has a lot of important skills. If you play one style at your club, and if you have to play a very different style in your national team, you need to be also successful. It's very, very hard.
Outside of the major tournaments, breaks in domestic football to make way for international games are often met with mixed feelings. Is that drop in quality the reason some fans roll their eyes when the elite leagues are paused?
I think the Premier League, if it's the Premier League you follow, leagues like that, they're so entertaining. International football is constantly trying to evolve in terms of the format of qualifiers and friendlies. But yeah, look, a friendly is just that. Because of the nature of it, it's going to lack the intensity, unless it's a big game. It's two big teams, but it's going to lack the intensity. But I will say this, I think it's only really the case with nations who have top leagues. For all the other leagues in the world, when there's an international break and the league stops and they gather as a national team, and it's an honour for those guys to represent the national team, and they're playing against a bigger nation. That is a real significant experience for fans of the country. So I don't think it's across the board. You know, the football world is massive, and there's many countries that are passionate about football.
Representing their country is still a career highlight for many players, but the increased prevalence and quality of club football means the two have never been further apart. Do you prefer to watch your club or country in action? Let us know using the hashtag FootballNowClubVCountry. That's all we've got time for from our studio here in Doha. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.